Hi, I'm Ravi, back to you with a learning dialogue on resolving a force into two perpendicular components. So by the end of this learning dialogue, you'll be able to write two perpendicular components of a force. That is, you'll be able to resolve a force in the required direction. Let us see here. So here we have in the first picture we have a force. We have a block resting on a surface and it was acted upon by a force F of 100 newtons inclined at 30 degrees with the horizontal. And now we say that this is a force acting towards right in the upward direction. Now if we try to resolve the effects of this force in two perpendicular directions, that is x and y, as depicted in the third figure. So if we tend to write the x component of this force, that is the effect of this force in the x direction is nothing but the x component of the force, represented by F suffix x. It is F cos 30 degrees because 30 degrees is the inclination made by this force with the x-axis. So the x component of this force, or the component of the force along x direction, is F cos 30, and the component of the force along y direction is F sin 30. So now if we try to understand the direction of these components of forces, so the x component of this 100 Newton force will act towards right, and the y component will be acting in the upward direction. So the net effect of this force effect of the force on this particular body will be towards right in the upward direction. So the next we shall understand more about this resolving a force. This is another case where a block is acted upon by a 100 Newton force which is inclined at 30 degrees but in the opposite direction to the previous case. Now let us see what happens to its components in the x and y direction. If you try to resolve this force in the x and y directions, so you have the x component as 100 cos 30 and the y component as 100 sin 30. This is nothing but 86.6 newtons is the x component and 50 newtons is the y component force. But the directions, if you try to understand, the x component of the force will be acting towards left and the y component of the force will be acting in the downward direction. You can see that in the second picture. So this is how we write the component of the force. And this resolution of a force will be helpful for us in finding out or adding two forces. We know that a force has both magnitude and direction. Say these two cases, suppose if you're asked to add two forces acting in different directions, can you add them directly? No. Because, see here in this picture, a block is acted upon by two forces. 100 Newton force, which is acting towards left in the downward direction, inclined at 30 degrees with the horizontal, and another 50 Newton force, which is acting towards right in the downward direction, inclined at 30 degrees with the vertical. Now if you want to find out the combined effect on the body of these two forces, is it 150 newtons? Obviously no, because these two are acting in different directions, so we cannot add them directly. So what we do is, we resolve each force into two perpendicular directions, that is x and y, as stated in the picture, so that you can add all the x components, both the x components and both the y components, and again you can make these four components to a single set of forces acting mutually perpendicular to each other. And finally you can again combine them and represent it as a single force which is acting towards left in the downward direction. Now let us understand how this is done. Now the problem here is these two forces acting in different directions has to be added. So we are using the resolution of a force to add these two forces and get the combined effect. For that, so we have resultant of force in x direction is equal to, and we have to do it by taking sign into consideration. So what is the x component of 100 Newton force? It is 100 cos 30 and its direction is towards left. So it is minus 100 cos 30. And the x component of 50 Newton force is 50 sin 30. Right. And it is a rightward force. So we take it as with positive sign. So the total resultant force in the x direction is equal to minus 100 cos 30 plus 50 sin 30, which is equal to minus 61.6 newtons. Now the combined effect in the y direction, that is resultant force in y direction, is equal to the y component of 100 Newton force, that is 100 sin 30, which is acting downward direction. So minus 100 sin 30, and the y component of 50 Newton force is 50 cos 30, which also acting in the downward direction. So the sum of these two is minus 100 sin 30 minus 50 cos 30, which is equal to minus 93.9 newtons. So the x component 61.6 newtons is acting towards left, and the resultant y component 93.3 newtons is acting in the downward direction. Now we can combine these two and write it as a single force. This is how we use the resolution concept and adding the two forces. Thank you.